All right. A lot of comments about this one in particular. And it's what we kind of opened the show with, the conversation. And I'm going to lay out to you why I think it's a team of destiny. And then you tell me if you would make any changes to it or you disagree or what have you.
All
The
right.
reason I do think it's a team of destiny is multiple reasons. Okay, first of all, the way that the NFC lined up, the teams that were in front of them, the 49ers were by far the best team in the NFC going into the playoffs. Then I think they got some more favorable matchups than some of the other teams that were out there. That's number one. Number two, this team is coming from behind on a routine basis, which has not happened in the Shanahan era, right? Now they're like making it a norm. Three, you're going back to the Super Bowl for the second time in the Shanahan era. You're doing it against the same team that you lost to. Like if there's ever a time to get like some get back, why not be the same team that you lost to? And then you start to add in the injuries that the Chiefs have going into this key game to big time players. It just seems like, and to win a Super Bowl, again, like I said, I don't believe every year the best team always wins. I think that there is luck involved in every championship. Every team has to have some sort of luck. And you look at the luck, I guess, that has fallen in the 49ers' favor with the injuries going into this game, with that Ayuk catch, right, going the way that it did. There's just certain things that are falling into place that are telling me this team is going to win this Super Bowl. Like this is a destiny play. Some things are just meant to be, and this team is meant to be, in my opinion. Is there anything you would add to that, change, disagree with? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I relayed that also to Grant this year, just also because of all the records being broken, right? There's just tons of records that are being broken, haven't been broken decades. And it just seems like there's just some kind of magic around this team. Now, I'm not a big believer necessarily in destiny, but it does feel like it's headed that direction. But would it surprise me completely if we lost to the Chiefs, despite all of this great feeling we're having right now? No, it wouldn't. It would not, because I've been disappointed by this team. I felt this way when Kaepernick and those guys went to the Super Bowl. I didn't really feel this way when Jimmy brought these guys to the Super Bowl, to be honest. So I have been feeling that way for a while, but I'm not sure 100% that I'm sold on the whole destiny thing. Like we could go out and lay an egg, and Patrick Mahomes could be Patrick Mahomes, and I think what I'm doing more is like I'm sandbagging emotionally, right? I've been disappointed the last two times the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. So I'm trying to minimize my expectations and just be an observer and watch it and hope for the best here. But I definitely hear your point. I've been saying something similar to Grant over the last couple months. It just feels like it with everything that's transpired, the whole Brock Purdy story, all the records being broken. It does feel like that, and I get where you're coming from.
Wow, Ben Johnson staying in Detroit. That's huge for them.
He didn't get a lot of love, and I don't know if it's because he stopped running the ball in the second half, but I think he only had like a phone call with the Commanders and maybe one
The Commanders wanted him. I know that to be true. That's something that Adam Peters wanted. Is he wanted
really.
Ben Johnson specifically. So I'm surprised. This sounds like a decision that he's made to maybe stay one more year. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the story. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just going off of what I know to be true. So I'm curious to see why he's staying and what happened.
What was reported yesterday is that he's only had a virtual interview with the Commanders. He hasn't had an in-person interview with the Commanders. So I don't know if that's necessarily
he's not going to do in person the week of. You're not going to travel. They would have to travel to you, or you would do virtual when you're in the playoffs. So
yeah, I just think if they really wanted him, they would have made that happen. I think. I don't know. I'm a little disappointed. Ben Johnson's been the hot story all year, but the way he abandoned the run in the second half is concerning.
Oh, for sure.
If I'm looking to hire Ben Johnson, yeah.
And actually, you know what I was thinking of? Very, very interesting was Kyle Shanahan. Remember when he was the hot candidate and we ended up getting him from the Falcons, but then they abandoned the run in the second half of the Super Bowl and ended up losing. That's kind of what it reminded me of. It's like, wow, you got the hot candidate. He's here in the NFC Championship. The game's right there to be had, and he just abandoned the run. It was very young Kyle Shanahan-esque, and that I was like, okay, like maybe he can learn from this like Kyle did, but there was a lot of similarities there. So
Absolutely.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I got to know. I want to know why that's the case. Why he's not going there. Was it a decision he made? Was it? I don't know. I'm curious to see who Washington ends up with, though. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Duran says, "Sorry if this has already been brought up, but Brock Purdy past Ayuk would have been money if the DB didn't PI, flag was thrown and picked up." I guess. I mean, here's my problem with that statement. And again, I gave Brock Purdy all the credit in the world. I don't have a problem with the fact that it could have been intercepted. I don't know how anybody can look at that and say, I mean, what are the factors that go into it? Like to scientifically know that the ball would have been perfectly accurate, you would need to know what was the force, what speed was he running at, what was the ball pit? You know what I mean? Like to say that it would have been perfect. We know for sure it would have been perfectly placed if he hadn't gotten slowed down. You don't know that. I mean, maybe it would have been an underthrow. Maybe it would have, it's impossible to say that. Impossible.
I don't really see the PI, if I'm being real. It looked like the defender was looking for the ball in the air and he was slowing down to make a play on the ball. That's not really
what I saw.
interference. Yeah.
That's what I saw. He thought it was going to be a little bit shorter, and he kind of slowed because he was in front of Ayuk. He looked back, he slowed down. Ayuk ran into him. Naturally, that's going to happen. That is legal contact. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, crap. And then he sped up. Really, if he didn't slow down, how do you know it wouldn't have been perfect right over the shoulder in his hands for a pick if he hadn't slowed down the way he did and misjudged it? That's what I'm saying. There's no way to know that it would have been perfect. And this isn't, Michael, this isn't against you, by the way. I know that you're like, it feels like I'm coming at you specifically. I saw this all over the place. If for this, we don't know. Like, there's so many like scientific things you would have to know to understand that it would have been a perfect pass. That being said, the result was the result. It wasn't a PI. It could have been picked. It wasn't picked. And all of that still, I like that Brock Purdy took the chance. So I didn't have a problem with it whatsoever. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
Because they were down 14 or whatever at the time, and momentum was shifting. So yeah, I had zero issue with that. Juan Torres says, proud of Kyle for not freaking out and sticking with the run. Yes.